where Paul's talking to this community, and he's showing that he was the example of he worked hard, that is a reason for people not to have food benefits and for people not to be able to feed their families and for people not to have that. Like that's their argument, is that people should go hungry and starve. So, this book is often weaponized. I love this New Revised Standard Bible, and this is the Duke Graduation Edition, and I've like bought 3 of them because I just don't, for some reason, I really like it. My last one said "Suspect Device" on it, which is a song from Stiff Little Fingers. And the idea of it being suspect device is that people often weaponize these scriptures, and they weaponize the verses to hurt other people. And I would say using the Bible as an excuse for people to go hungry and starve and to be naked without clothes and not rent and be sick and not be cared for is you could almost say it's demonic or satanic, if you really want to use those words. Those words, unfortunately, were used so often of us growing up about like secular music and movies and really things that made no sense. But this is the really thing. It's like, these are people starving to death. So Paul says, if you don't work, you starve. And that's where so forget about all the things that Jesus said about feeding the poor and the least of these, and forget about the Samaritan, and forget about, Jesus's teachings about the poor and feeding all the people. And but that's their excuse. So at least they have a biblical excuse, I guess you could say, is they're reaching to justify a lack of compassion and love for the other. And so maybe it's our own problem. And that's why we talk about scholarship, and that's why we talk about biblical history and context and knowing these things, because people just take this at like what people usually call a 6th grade level. And what they mean by that, it's not to be necessarily demeaning. It's to be like when you read something and you have no context and you just take it for that face value. You don't know what letter, who it's written to, why it was written, really much about the people in the letter. You're just going, oh, and then we turn it into like fortune cookie battles. You know what I mean? Where we're just like, but my fortune says this, because then we take the verses in the scriptures and we really that's a real way to weaponize the Bible. Really, verses in scriptures really help us do that, because then we go like 527. So we turn it into a law book, and we try to support our own claims. So we use it just to support what Christ is calling us to, is ways to find loopholes to not help the other.